Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to this year in review and review of the budget year that we call Hoagies with Holland. He spent some time in Scotland, so we were thinking about maybe we should change it to Hoagies with Holland, but we're not sure exactly how well that food would go over. We want to thank you for all that you've done this year to make it such a success. We're really grateful for all of that. And so now, without further ado, we're going to turn the time over to President Matthew S. Holland. And thank you again.
Well, good morning, everyone. I know things are always tough on the budget front, but I can assure you we will not be moving to haggis with Holland. So I hope the hoagies have been enjoyable today. Well, listen, in some ways, this gets harder to do every year, but in a good way. There is just more and more to cover and brag about. There's more and more to discuss in terms of our budget as our budget grows in size. And so I want to just launch right into things. We'll try to keep this right to an hour and let you go on your way. But I want to start with the acknowledgement of this very special year that we're in. It is our 75th anniversary, and I want to begin on this theme. I want to close on this theme about it is absolutely appropriate for us to be celebrating our 75th anniversary. What this institution has accomplished over these 75 years truly is remarkable. I've said it before. We've got a title of a book before about it. We are the miracle in the valley. And so I hope you'll join with me in feeling this sense of pride and in telling this story. We're trying to do this. You've seen the wraps around campus that I think really add a fun and very visible way of recognizing this moment for us. We've had a really important event that unfortunately we weren't able to have a venue, if you will, that could involve the whole campus except for the reception afterwards. But at our appreciation banquet, we had all the former presidents of this institution join, both full-time and interim presidents, and awarded the full-time presidents honorary degrees. Very special night for them and their families. We've also had the arrival of our new own UVU puzzle, and at our appreciation banquet, we unveiled this. Eric Dowdell, famous artist in the area, has developed this. If you haven't seen this before, go to our website. You can order a copy for $19.41 in recognition of our 1941 anniversary. Lots of fun little details in this puzzle painting moving forward. And I hope you'll all plan to join us for our 75th graduating class at commencement exercises this year. Promises to be, I think, a very inspirational moment with our special guest speaker. And as we're looking at another record-breaking class of graduates, it promises to be a very important and memorable moment. And I hope all of you, faculty, staff, feel encouraged and welcome to attend that. Just to give you a heads up about what's coming then, because in some ways our biggest moments of celebration are ahead of us. We'll have Summer University coming up with a lot of 75th anniversary themes to it. Homecoming Week will be designed around that. The Alumni Family Fun Fair Festival will, all of these things will continue the expansion of our celebration of this moment. Most notable, though, will be our big UVU Euphoria moment outside of the baseball diamond. We'll be having some big announcements about that coming up shortly, about the entertainment and the activities associated with that. Then the scholarship ball, and then the Roots of Knowledge, the ribbon cutting for what is going to be this truly, I think this is not overstatement, a truly spectacular world-class piece of artwork that will go into our library. We'll have all of the state dignitaries around from around our community and region here to enjoy this moment and to broadcast many of the things that you've been engaged with, this visioning process we've done on our master planning and what the next, maybe not the next 75 years, but the next 25 years and maybe 50 years will look like on this campus from an infrastructure. So anyway, it's just a really fun year to be at UVU, and I hope you're taking advantage of that. So with that, I do want to get into talking about some of the highlights, and I have to underscore some. This is, again, one of the things that it's really getting harder and harder for me. There's so much we could talk about, and the best I can do now are give, pieces of update that are illustrative of so many more good things that we don't have time to talk about. So I apologize in advance if your special accomplishment or your point of pride doesn't make it on there. It's just impossible to choose everything that we think is worth broadcasting and put on up here. But we start, as always, with our core themes and administrative imperatives. We focus on these relentlessly. I think it's part of our success as an institution that we remind ourselves regularly what these are and track our progress on them. So again, this affirmation from our mission that we're a teaching institution focused on student success at its core, supported by this effort to be engaged, serious, and inclusive. And as you know, these last couple of years, we've really been adopting or reinvigorating this imagery that sits in the back of our seal of Mount Timpanogos, that what we mean by student success, we're helping these students scale the great peaks of life, giving them the tools and the energy and the equipment to do that with, in effect. And I think it's so fitting that image is part and parcel of our official university emblem. And so we began the year, in effect, since our last Hoagies, with what's now become my annual hike up Mount Timpanogos with students. And I have to tell you what a spectacular experience this is. If you look carefully at this picture, these students represent our commitment to inclusiveness. They're students from all walks of life, different cultural, religious, political, racial categories, and all committed to UVU and excited about what we do. And we walk and talk. There's a serious element to it as we discuss poetry and literature and have some formal teaching moments as we scale these peaks together. And that's just, it's a little thing. It's a day for me, but it's my way of saying I want to be personally involved with this messaging of student success and helping inspire our students to achieve the very greatest heights that they can. And so I'll be doing that again this summer and invite you in your own ways to find appropriate avenues for doing similar things. Of course, this moment was bookended by, I think, two of our most prominent moments of student success. The first was graduation, which preceded it, another full house in the UCCU Center, which will replicate again here in just a couple of weeks with even more graduates. And then it was followed by our most successful freshman convocation yet. And this thing has just exploded. It was a pilot program a few years ago. We're filling the UCCU Center. Those are all pictures from those moments. I'm very appreciative of all the faculty and staff who come and show up. But this just is really transforming the kind of culture and the point of entry for our students, where they come, they get a little lecture from me, they get an inspirational set of instructions about how to complete and commit to complete their degree while they're here. They get introduced to the Green Man Group and to UVU athletics and our cheer squads, and it's just a really terrific moment. Parents and family come, and it's just a way of saying, this is where you should be. We want you here forever. We want you to finish your degree and move forward. And so that continues to move apace. Well, what if I can move now into the themes of serious, engaged, and inclusive, but really again this year with a special focus on student success. That was the message of my State of the University. I want to continue that theme this year. So many things we could talk about faculty, but just know that behind every student success slide that I'm showing here, the point is that there are outstanding faculty and staff who are making this happen. But let's look at this through the lens of our student success. So here we have the success of our leadership program, which has been recognized as one of the truly outstanding student leadership programs in the world. And you can get a sense for what they're achieving there in terms of their status of number 2 in the world. And I will surely go ahead and let you know where some of the other losers are. In any case, we're very proud of that operation, those students, and what they're doing. Just quickly, just for fun, I added that last one in. I figured the laughter would increase as we went on, so. Okay. Our PRSSA students doing some remarkable stuff on a consistent basis. 6 consecutive years of the STAR Award chapter status. Fewer than 10% chapters earn this distinction. We've done it 6 years in a row. We're completely on the map from a national perspective with what those students are doing. Institute of Internal Auditors, you look at their comprehensive school rating. This is another remarkable set of accomplishments in terms of our comparison to how few other universities make the same mark of distinction moving forward. We often talk about our ballroom dance team, but other aspects of our dance program are also achieving national recognition and accomplishment. And how about the best chef in the Americas? In the Western Hemisphere, we have the #1 student cook, and he's moving in with my family next week. So, just so you're aware. Athletically, as you know, I always stress that the serious theme is not just an academic, intellectual theme. It reflects to all that we do professionally, athletically, that we strive to be the best. How proud am I of our athletic accomplishments? 3 WAC championships, All-American status or honorable mentions for some of our athletes. And maybe what, for me, is most significant of all, in addition to 90 All-WAC honors, 207 student athletes named Academic All-Conference. These are true student athletes who are as good in the classroom as they are in the field, and we're very proud of what they're accomplishing. Yep, thank you, thank you. Vince Odopal, there you go. Spontaneous applause. We appreciate what you folks are doing. Here's a wonderful example. Jared Pitcher, student over in our CAPS program, did the Community Emergency Response Team training, got certified through FEMA, got really inspired by that, working with faculty, started to do some undergraduate mentored research with that, ends up presenting this at the ultimate national conference. And then also took the research and the practice he engaged with some fellow students, went overseas for some humanitarian and training of local leaders in Macedonia and Greece in terms of community response and emergency training. Really terrific stuff. Brought home another national championship with Skills USA since we last met. These folks brought home more gold medals than ever. I'm always asked, do you still have the trades at UVU? Absolutely. Trades and technical education never been more successful. Proud of what they're accomplishing. This is a really interesting and I think very exciting accomplishment that's happened with our folks in the financial analyst program under the direction of Dr. Kerry Wasden. So they have a national pass rate in general for this exam of 7%. In other words, most people fail this exam. The Wall Street Journal calls this one of the hardest tests in the world, just point blank. Anyone want to guess what UVU's pass rate was this year? 80%. Yeah. And that's come because a college and a department have been serious about student success, and that a particular individual, faculty member, has gone over and above in working with students to get them ready to move forward. And again, there are many other examples, but this is a particularly vivid one that I wanted to share with you. And the fact is that all of these great moments of student success are buttressed by great programs and degrees, and boy, we've had some exciting developments on that this year. So the trustees have approved. We're waiting for region approval before we finally do the victory dance on the tabletops, but 5 new master's degrees coming our way: cybersecurity, accounting, social work, computer science, public service. This actually comes in concert with a massive kind of overhaul and development of our whole graduate studies programs with new policies and office support and infrastructure. And this is, we are moving now absolutely solidly and aggressively into graduate education. We've been wanting to do this for a while, but we had to get all the right pieces into place, and now we're really ready to move. And the excitement in the community, I can tell you, is very, very strong. And so we look forward to that. And then it's true that these are also at the undergraduate level and graduate level programs that are getting national distinction. Here's a top 25 ranking for School of Ed in terms of teacher preparation quality. And then also just think about the number of new programs that have been approved this year at the undergraduate level. I mean, we have been busy this year, and what that means is more faculty, more programs, more seriousness that's going to be a launching pad for our students into great careers, graduate school, other opportunities that will move their life forward in just the ways that we're hoping for. And of course, all of this is done and supported by a truly outstanding set of staff and faculty, and we have here the winners of our Trustees Awards and Presidential Awards of Excellence. You see they come from different departments and divisions and schools, outstanding teachers, administrators, staff operators. We commend these folks for their excellence in showing us their way forward. So if I can shift to the theme of engagement, this is one of our big developments this year, is thinking in a more concrete and targeted way about just what are the elements or areas of engagement that we want to focus on. It's such a big, broad category. We've done so much in so many ways. Every year we're doing more and doing it better. But I want to congratulate Fred White for his leadership here in helping us think through how to shape and refine our understanding of engagement. We're now talking about 5 distinct pillars of engaged learning. You can see them before you there. We're putting support and resources into each of those areas, from internships down to general curriculum and pedagogy across the campus. I think this is a very useful vehicle for us to think about engaged learning as we move forward. Here, there's just so much that we could do, and I just a very few kind of illustrations of this, but in terms of the pillar of reaching out and responding to business and community regional needs, this is one that's just happened as a result of that. There's this phenomenon of boot camps developing, and a lot of this is happening in the private sector, but it's very expensive for students, and the outcomes have, frankly, there's some questionable, there's some current concerns about the particular outcomes students get for all of the money that they're paying. We've worked with industry, we've worked in consortium with other educational institutions and entities around the state to provide something I think is more accessible, better quality, and but still be very responsive to industry. And I'm very excited about what that means. And I can tell you that industry and CEOs are very appreciative of UVU's responsiveness on that. We had I was able to attend an engineering fair. What our students are accomplishing is just, they're ingenious, they're thoughtful, these things are working. you really all ought to take advantage of seeing this. But it goes beyond technology and business. We're again responding to the math situation in practical ways, especially getting more young women into math to pursue STEM education, having some great success with the Math Girls Rock program. Again, this could be under the inclusive. Again, one of the great things about our core themes is there's a lot of overlap, but this was something that a community entity came to us. We've supported in hosting the Latinos an Action Conference with a tremendous participation at the junior high level. These will be students that will come to us someday because we're better engaged with them. Held the first ever World Language Fair in Utah, a great success for us moving forward, along with other international accomplishments like hosting 4 ambassadors to the U.S. from the Pacific Rim countries. So we are the Pacific Alliance countries. And this was a thing noted nationally that we would have that high level of Foreign Service ambassadorial representation on this campus for a very important discussion that's being followed up by the governor and a trade delegation mission. Well, from the, from the serious to the sublime, I don't know what the right transition is here. Jason Alexander, our George Costanza is in the house again. And he came, and this was the most entertaining night I think I've had here at UVU, where he came and did a show with our students, our music students. He sang, he danced, he made us laugh, and it was all tailored around what UVU. He absolutely loves what's happening with theater and the arts in general at UVU. This was the first time he's done this with a college. He's done this with professional orchestras around the nation. He did it for us basically at cost as his way of helping us move forward, because he sees that the way we're approaching this in this applied, engaged, practical way is really the future of arts education moving forward. Again, reaching out to our alumni base, an exciting development, our first ever alumni chapter outside of the state of Utah, organized in Phoenix, Arizona. You're going to start to see more of these as our graduates are moving from this institution and even beyond the state in terrific employment opportunities. So this is the front end of a pattern I think you'll see more regularly. A banner year for our work now on the inclusive side. Tremendous progress with the inclusive initiative, national recognition, especially for our work with the Latino population, White House Bright Spot, a top 5 program for excellency in education. These are things, again, we're not really pitching these. People are aware of what they're doing and singling us out right here in Orem, Utah for the work that we're doing. Again, we're trying to follow that with continued and substantive work with Native American populations. We had a very successful Pacific Islander conference. Thanks to our great student leadership, we're now looking to host, we've done some preliminary work for hosting a national conference on diversity for student leaders and student affairs leaders. Grateful for the work that Kyle Reyes has done in helping us designate some champions of inclusion. These were recently awarded this year to community members, faculty, staff, students who've helped move us forward on this important initiative. Tremendous lineup of speakers. Will Haygood, author of The Butler, was on campus for Martin Luther King Day. Natasha Trethewey, exceptional presidential lecture, National Poet Laureate, talking very thoughtfully, artistically, poetically about her experience as a child of a mixed-race couple and someone from the South who's dealt firsthand with deep issues of division and difficulty over race. It was a very moving experience. It doesn't get any better from a kind of poetic, intellectual perspective to have her on our campus. Woodbury's doing this university-wide effort is finding its way now into colleges' work on the Latino Student Council. We've been able to provide some resources and open an office for LGBT student services. And finally, this I think was probably the most moving experience I had this year as we cut the ribbon on the Veterans Center. And we've needed to do this for a long time, and we've finally been able to do it. And I invited everyone all the veterans who are in the audience to stand up. If you see the gentleman to the right of me that was helping me cut the ribbon, we didn't know who he was. He just showed up. He read about our ribbon cutting in the paper, wanted to be there, and at the point at which I asked all the veterans to stand up, he started to try to stand up, and he was so old and feeble that by the time he got up, everyone else had stood up and sat back down. So all of a sudden he was standing there alone and took the stage. He's a vet from Iwo Jima, fought in the war, World War II, and just started to talk about how much it meant to him as a vet. And he never really even explained if he had any connection to the campus, but how grateful he was that we were doing this for our veterans, and finished off with a salute to Utah Valley University for what we were accomplishing. Thank you. Well, again, it's a little painful for me. I could go on, and you probably think I am going on and on. But these are just some of the fabulous highlights of this extraordinary university that we have, and we'll continue to celebrate and think about other things as we move forward. FYI, before we shift into the budget portion of today's events, just remember we've got Summer University coming up May 23rd through the 25th with Todd Hansen here. I hope you can, as many of you as possible, will take advantage. Great set of workshops, activities, service project. I always love being involved with that, so please mark that on your calendars. Okay, with that, we want to shift into the PBA report. We have allocation decisions to announce today. This is also something that gets harder and harder. I do want to give you reminders. We've kind of made the shift the last couple of years. We're just not able to give all of the details, so not everything we've decided is up here. And even the things we have decided are kind of in categories, so you'll want to go look at, and I'll give you the URL site at the end where you can get the details of these things if you want. But in the spirit of our PBA ethos, if you will, a commitment to transparency and to dialogue and to saying publicly what we've done and why we've done it, I think this remains a very vital part of our year together, and we're at that period in the cycle where it's now time to have this broad public announcement about these things. Again, with invitation to each of you to go back and look in more detail for any of the specifics that you're particularly curious about. So it starts with, of course, the legislative session, determining how much we have in many respects at the end of the day to spend in the year. And so the story this year is one that's a little mixed, frankly, in the sense that we didn't get as much ongoing funding as we were hoping for. So we pushed hard for compensation. Our cut of the compensation allotment was a little over $3 million. We're asked to then match that by about 25%, and that's what we're limited to use for all compensation purposes, and I'll say more about that at the end. The good news here is we were treated like every other state employee. Some years we haven't. There's been an expectation that if we were going to do that, we'd have to raise more tuition or go without. So I think at least we've been successful in getting that message moving forward. With that and some other things that we're doing on the compensation side, I think it's a solid year forward. We'll keep pushing that as our top priority to help you attract and retain the best people we can on this campus and move forward. Beyond that, a little bit of money in market demand, $600,000 roughly, some monies in engineering performance funds, and we're still waiting to hear actually what happens in performance-based funding. There's some formula things that have to get worked out at the commissioner's office. Basically $5 million for the whole system. We'll get some portion of that so you can start to kind of imagine the ratios in your mind about how that might work. The big victory was, and that we're ecstatic about, was funding for the arts building, $32 million. Thank you. We went in actually fairly confident about the arts building this year. At least I felt more confident about this than any building we've done in the past because we'd raised so much money and there's such a dramatic need for it. We had very high rankings, but as we got into the legislative session, politics being what it is, we had a very difficult early committee meeting where our building got ranked very low. I'll spare any editorial detail why. If you really want to know, get me liquored up sometime and I'll tell you. The point is we really had to fight hard. I'm so grateful for Cam Martin and Val Peterson. Linda Macon's a great support. And then many of you, cabinet, trustees. We had a couple of our trustees who were up on the Hill regularly with us, our friends in the School of the Arts. We were able to put on a show in the middle of the session that I think helped change minds. The legislators were really moved by what our students were doing. And so we were able to reverse that early committee ranking and get the funding for it moving forward. We're in the design phase now, but there's some really exciting things this is going to bring to our campus that we've never had before. So that should be a 900-seat concert hall. It'll be a great gathering space. Really, the aesthetics of this are going to be terrific. 450 to 500-seat proscenium theater, a music recital hall, dance recital hall, offices, lab space. This is what our arts faculty have been waiting for so long, deserving for so long. And I also will note it's the first phase of a project. We've got a second phase that we're already at work on for what we'll be able to do for art and visual communication. So we're very grateful to the legislature, and I'm grateful to the team that I worked with in this project getting it done. So with that, let me go back then to the financial piece. So here's the kind of breakdown then for the year in terms of tuition that comes from enrollment growth, new tax funds, tuition funds from tuition rate increase, as well as unallocated acute equity funds. We still are spending money based on that acute equity victory of a couple of years ago, again, in the spirit of our determination to be very thoughtful and very strategic about how that money got spent, and we've now rounded out that process. Now, something I would like you to keep in mind with me as you look at this pie chart. Another way that we might look at this is how much of this money comes from the students versus how much comes from the state. And it's rather striking. The majority of this money is coming from our students through tuition. And that's why we have to continue to be vigilant about being efficient and cost-effective, because more and more is being put on the backs of our students to carry this. And we're going to hope, I do hope next year will be better in terms of state support for higher education, and those ratios will change. But regardless, we need to remember that when these things I'm going to announce, we're doing it because the students are paying for it, and we need to make sure that we're delivering for those students and that they're getting the return on the investment they deserve for funding this operation. Now, that's for ongoing funds. This is in terms of ongoing and one time altogether. It's close to $30 million, again, in that combined sense, and you can see, again, the breakdown there. Now, as I have taken opportunity to do, I had an all-leadership meeting across the campus earlier in the year, made a presentation in the Faculty Senate. We have developed now, it came out of our experience with acute equity, that we're announcing each year some specific areas of focus for budget funding. And these were our three specific areas of focus. And there was one under the heading of student success, one under the heading of inclusive, one under the heading of operate effectively. Now, again, let me I'm going to repeat this over and over. These are not the only things we're funding. We're still funding areas in all of the areas of the core themes and administrative imperatives, but given certain self-analysis that we're doing, weakness and threats and opportunities that we have, these were three things in particular that we thought just needed to get some real emphasis in the budget this year. So under student success, it was improved student retention and completion, Under inclusive, it's expanding the access and opportunity for a broad range of students in meeting regional educational needs. So again, there are other things in inclusive we're doing, but this was one particular area that we needed to make a focus. And then under operate effectively, again, that spirit of we've got to be watching the cost structure of this campus, so creating greater efficiencies and effectiveness is really key this year. So, starting with area focus 1 then, improving student retention and completion. Under reducing student to advisor ratios, nearly $300,000 for academic advisors in business, computer engineering, science, languages, and math. Improve the general education, math completion, nearly a couple $100,000 there for a math concurrent enrollment faculty, money for this new placement product that we're all very excited about called ALEX, some money for English lecturers. Improve onboarding through graduation support, so nearly $700,000 there for Money Management Resource Center, completion grants, freshman reading program, transfer credit hourly, and then finally under the student communication platform called EAB, first year experience coordinator, freshman convocation, student success and retention, hourly support. So I think those are all really strong, solid applications of this area of focus for us moving forward. Second area of focus under the inclusive theme, but again, especially that access and opportunity for a broad range of programs. There are a couple of sub-bullet points. Implementing new programs, including master's degrees. So we've put money into new faculty for the Masters of Social Work and the Masters of Public Services, for undergraduate programs, support for the autism, staff support for autism, faculty for criminal justice, specifically national security, and also unmanned aircraft, hourly faculty, and then faculty in theater and acting as a new program in that field. But it's not just new programs, it's also expanding ones that we have, especially if there's key industry need. That's part of that subfield of that area of focus. So again, on the faculty side, tenure track and information technology, digital media, information systems, engineering. Hourly support for nursing and staff and equipment under and TNC lab assistant and mechatronics. So, and then finally, on this area of focus, implementing innovative pedagogies, including large sections. That would be tenure track faculty for criminal justice online, staff, course specialist for the Office of Teaching and Learning, distance and education operating funds, expand those efficiencies that we'll use through technology. We've got to adapt and expand to student enrollment and growth, and so there's a big demand out at Thanksgiving Point for engagement with business. We've had a tremendous response to our MBA program out there, so we're expanding that cohort out there. That requires some additional tenure track faculty, some operations management and marketing in particular, coordinator for international experience, and then some summer faculty operating funds. And then jumping down to the Masters of Education, we have school district outreach, really some exciting things happening there in terms of what will, I think, both improve the teaching experience and some efficiencies as the School of Ed moves that direction. Under the third area focus, operate effectively, strengthen a culture of compliance and reduce risk. We're adding some staff for Equal Opportunity Title IX investigator, a new fire marshal, and a parking police dispatch. On the faculty side, SVPAA's office needs a lecturer to backfill so that we don't lose support for teaching on some initiatives that will require attention to issues related to faculty and academic affairs. On the hourly side, and Equal Opportunity Title IX, training software, support for the General Counsel's Office, audit fees, emergency risk management, a new notification system that will go out through our text, improving the distribution, sweep, and the time frame of that, which I think will be very important. And then equipment for aircraft satellite tracking hardware. It's really a bad thing if you ever lose an airplane, especially if it's in flight. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. And campus firewall. We are under relentless attack on the cybersecurity front, and we'll be making significant investments there. So continue to operate effectively, implement innovative professional practices. We've got software license and implementation for the various programs that you see listed there, as well as an expansion of virtual labs. This is more of a movement from us, away from the hard in-person lab to virtual labs, as that tends to be more the way our students are moving, our faculty moving, so we're moving with the times on that. In terms of student success, one of our efforts there is to make sure that we improve access to full-time faculty. So these are positions in addition to the ones I previously noted. So tenure-track faculty in digital media, culinary arts, accounting, AVC sculpture, statistics, communications, biology and chemistry. We have a couple of positions we're moving from lecture to tenure track in automotive and history and political science, and some new lectures in communications, marketing, and Spanish. Enhancing the student and academic support service area, putting nearly $500,000 into some really critical areas. We need at least one new mental health therapist, and maybe more, but we're able to at least do that this year. Cal coordinator, support for the scholarship office, and then some hourly staff in TNC tutoring, Woodbury Business School tutoring, the graduation transfer office, on through the rest of those offices, hourly support there. On the athletic side, enhancing NCAA athletic programs is another part of our student success objectives. So we've got a couple of $100,000 in ongoing, a little more money in one time that will help us on the hourly staff front, some cost of attendance issues, not for all of our programs, but a significant start for us with some of our teams there, equipment, and a facility upgrade for our exciting new soccer team that we had the 12th, Vince, was it the 12th best, highest ranked attendance of a soccer team in the nation? And we need to have facilities that can accommodate this great gathering space for our students and community. Under the core theme of inclusive now, strengthen the student support services across a lot of different areas that you can see here. Women in Higher Education Coordinator, we're making tremendous progress with the help of lots of people, Ann Wyrapo and Susan Madsen, many across campus who are moving this forward, and we need some support for that. ASD Assistive Technology, multicultural and LGBT hourly staff and program support, interreligious hourly staff, Spanish GED pilot, cultural envoy scholarships, and TRIO hourly staff. Exciting new support and programs and projects there. So under the core theme of serious, we enhance academic programs and student services support. So here we've got many categories of funding. Some of this is ongoing, appropriated, one-time appropriated. Some of it's non-appropriated, ongoing, non-appropriated, one-time. Again, you can dig into the details if you want, but on the staff side, a number of support for key things in University College, College of Science and Health, School of Education, faculty for the Center for Constitutional Studies, a professional and resident / director, some non-appropriated funds to support that realignment. On the hourly side, you can see the various positions that are coming in there. And then program support. A lot going on with our library, expanding expenses for database inflation, STEM database. We need some new digital cinema equipment. That's one of our just cutting edge programs, and we have to stay up to date with the technology there. Support for honors events in that mark of building out a serious institution. Love how things are developing in the honors program. The expansion of our Bloomberg terminals, that was a public-private partnership A lot of this came from outside, but we've had to bring some internal support for that moving forward. That's a really terrific return on investment for us. So we also need to tell our story and develop greater UVU pride as the reflection of a serious university. So a couple of $100,000 ongoing and a little bit of money non-appropriate, about that same non-appropriate, and then some one-time. For staff on the marketing side, for a communications project manager and a specialist. We've got some more expenses related to the 75th anniversary that we're doing. Pearls for student recruitment. These have proven to be very effective. They're targeted, they're outreach, designed for students of a certain population, and we think these are effectively paying for themselves and more with what they're doing on student recruitment. And just some additional individual marketing campaigns that go beyond the 75th that are a priority for us moving ahead. Expand and enhance learning and career exploration opportunities. This is now as we head under the heading of engaged. So staff, international multicultural administrative assistant, some hourly support for the Capitol Reef Field Station, and School of Education clinical support. Current programming support for things like the Woodbury School Business Student Competition, some performance engagement support for School of the Arts, undergraduate research, and some matching funds for community engagement. Under managing growth, under our administrative imperatives, as we shift from our core themes to our administrative imperatives, increase sections and support services to meet enrollment growth. We know we're going to be facing increased enrollment growth, but we've got to make sure that we have sufficient adjunct faculty to help us in each of the schools and colleges moving forward. We can then process in the coming year how that settles out and if those need to turn into more permanent positions, but this will help us get through the coming fall as we face that. In terms of securing resources, some support for development and alumni relations. As you've heard me say before, we've started to raise a lot of money on this campus, but sometimes you have to spend money to collect money. And so we need some staff support in terms of an administrative assistant, data analyst, and website coordinator in that division, and program support for some national development outreach and some professional development for our fundraisers, and then also more professional work for our campaigns. We've had these very successful one-off campaigns with an arts building and with a number of things that I could rattle off from the We Care Center and other things. But we now need to shift to more extended campaigns and possibly a comprehensive campaign. That takes study and investigation and training, and so we're starting to move in that direction. And then providing staffing and operating funds to support existing programs and services, a couple of $100,000 there for the travel office, purchasing, HR, accounts receivable, some hourly in student affairs, and then support instructional and institutional assessment and improvement. We've got the Great Colleges to Work For survey and academic programs, e-portfolio programs that require a little bit of money this year. As we kind of get wrapping up here, in terms of the facilities under operate effectively, we do need some facility enhancements and remodels. These are going to part of the ever-changing nature of this campus. And I have to tell you, just earlier this week, I was at USC on a fundraising trip and doing some other university business, and met with senior leaders of USC and took a tour of campus. And we can be very proud of the infrastructure here. On one hand, what I kind of saw at some of these other institutions, there's great extravagance, things that cost so much money that they've put into facilities. And then there are other parts of campus that have just been completely forgotten and dilapidated. And this is at a first-rate, kind of leading research institution. I think what we've got is more optimal. We've got really terrific facilities across the board, and they're not extravagant, but they're safe, they're clean, they're getting updated, and not everything can happen at once, but we're doing this on a steady basis, and here are a few more things like that. Support for the Vineyard Fields and our new basketball facilities and O&M. We're going to be putting an infill between by the Pope Science Building. Really, we're basically out of space for any kind of office around campus. This will give us some immediate relief on that pressure moving forward. That will get underway. We need to think about, again, continuing to expand our footprint down south into Payson. There may be a unique opportunity to get some land at very cheap agricultural prices. We need to do that now for the future, as well as developing Thanksgiving Point. Not ready to build at Thanksgiving Point, but we're getting more serious about that. In the meantime, we need to lease out some space, and that will take some remodeling money, but our vision is that by fall, we'll have a dedicated space for UVU with a sign that will be visible from the freeway, and our students can go there and take courses moving forward. So we've got some remodel and upgradings to do for the faculty annex, the PE men's locker room, getting ready for the Roots of Knowledge project in the library, exterior of the BA building, culinary arts, HVAC needs updating, and draping for UCCU. So these are things that need to be done. I think we're being judicious about not doing anything more than we need to, but making sure that we stay creating a space everywhere across campus that's amenable, that's safe, that makes it a comfortable and terrific space to work in. And then support and sustain technology solutions, systems and infrastructure. We need some support for database administrator and IT infrastructure, and some hourly staff work for software, inflation increases, consulting, wireless growth. And then on academic facilities, in particular, computer science building, there's 12 offices on the 6th and 7th floor, 4 offices near 705. Gunther Trades and Sparks Automotive, a number of projects there that need to be addressed. And the classroom building will be dividing larger classrooms into smaller classrooms. This was the design from the beginning. We said as we moved into the classroom building, we needed to build it big and for scale, but we didn't know exactly how that was going to play out. It's easier to build big classrooms and make them smaller if we need to, and that's what we're doing in a couple of instances. And then we need to make sure that we're developing and recognizing faculty, staff, and administration. This is effectively the compensation item. That $5 million is again the mark of the input from the legislature with the obligatory and the amount that we are both required to fund and are limited to funding as a match to that program, and the total of that is $5 million. That needs to take care of all of our compensation. So let me go into that. With that money, here are the things that we will be able to do. All full-time employees will receive a $625 annualized base increase. In addition to that, we'll do this by faculty and staff. Full-time faculty may be eligible for rank and tenure promotion, market equity adjustment based on your proximity of your base salary to market median, your tenure track status, and your terminal, non-terminal degree status. That was not a Freudian slip, I assure you. I love the faculty. You're all staying, especially if you have tenure. And then there will be a limited amount of money for key retention, hanging on to those that get those insane offers from elsewhere that we want to try to counteroffer as we can. So in terms of full-time staff, they may be eligible for market equity adjustment based on the proximity of the base salary to market median, years in position, merit. They've made significant progress on the merit front on the full-time staff side. That will be based on a performance evaluation score and the proximity of base salary to market median, as well as some key retention monies there. Executives, similarly, distribution, the same percentages for market equity, merit, and key retention. And then adjunct faculty, we will be making a 2.75% increase. That's the highest increase of any category on campus as we continue to try to move those salary numbers. That effectively takes a 3 contact hour course to $2,800. And our hourly staff will all get a 2.5% increase. With that, I want to say something about health benefits. We will have a very modest medical premium increase of 1.6%. That roughly translates into $2.50 per month on family coverage on the base plan. But with that will come some increased coverage for autism screening and treatment, 3D mammograms, and dental implants. We're putting more resources into the employer side of the contribution for high savings accounts for employees in the high deductible plan to the tune of $75 per month for employees, for one employee, and $150 per month for employees with other people with them on that program. Also, excited about what we're doing with our health program. We want to increase the incentive on the wellness program. We've seen greater involvement in this. We'd like to see more involvement. We think this will come back to pay ourselves if we get healthier and stay healthier. So the first tier incentive moves to $300. The second tier moves to $200. So you could earn an extra $500 if you get formally involved with these programs, and I encourage all of you to do that. Well, here we are in summary then. In terms of appropriated funds, again, nearly $16 million, $10 million in one time on the appropriated side. On the non-appropriated, a couple of $100,000 in ongoing and $1 million one time for $28 million. Now, let me say something as we wrap up here. I know that you may not have seen everything you wanted to see. Maybe your item didn't get funded, or maybe you're going to go look at the details and say, well, it got funded, but it wasn't quite as much as I hoped for. Those are the realities of the world that we live in, a world of limited resources and a lot of demands. But I do want to kind of set a little perspective on this in the spirit of our 75th anniversary. So as we look at that $28 million of new monies, in effect, that we've put into place, that's what's happening this year in our 75th anniversary. So I take you back to 1941 and our beginnings, and our buildings and our operations. That's where we were. The Provo Fairgrounds, the old CCC barracks. Val Peterson's office was just in that left corner. We've done a little research. I wish we could go back. We don't have the hard numbers for actual 1941, but we got as close as we could get. And consider this. In 1948, the total day program enrollment was 300 students. In 1947, our capital outlay was $2,000. And 1945 to 47, 2 years, our total expenditures, $122,000. Now, that wasn't enough money to do what they needed to do then. And we don't have enough money to do everything we want to do, let alone what we ought to do. But we are in a totally different place than we were in 1941, because we've stayed at it year after year and haven't gotten discouraged and haven't been whiny about it and have moved forward with what we have, making the very best of it. And what we've done is nothing short of extraordinary. We are now, as was noted this year in the state papers, the largest university in the state of Utah. That little set of barracks with $120,000 spent over a couple of years, and a sliver of that dedicated to capital facilities and outlay, is now the state's largest, most dynamic, and best university in the state of Utah. And that $28 million of new monies is merely a subset of what is a $220 million budget that supports the picture behind you and supports you. And you're it. You are the university. You are this extraordinary institution that's accomplishing miraculous things for the sake of our students and the sake of our community. So I'm glad we could do everything we did. I'm sad about what we haven't been able to do, but I couldn't be more excited about what this next year is going to bring and what the future looks like. It's just going to get only more and more impressive. And that's all because of you. So I pay tribute to you, give you my greatest thanks, congratulate you on an outstanding year. Hope that you have a very productive summer, whether you're here on campus or pursuing things on the faculty side. I hope it's useful, productive, and recharging, Congratulations, and thank you very much.